What's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of RBT Resistance Band Training. I'm James Grage and I'm out here in beautiful Hollywood Beach. I've got palm trees, blue skies, ocean and sand. So why be stuck in the gym when I can come out here? So today I'm going to be showing you a couple awesome exercises that you can do for biceps, and all you need is a set of resistance bands and some place to anchor them. So I've got a pull-up bar here, so you could use this, or if you're at home, you're not at the beach, maybe you're at a park and you still have a pull-up bar, or like I said, if you're at home, you can use a door anchor. So Undersun Fitness makes a nice little nylon door anchor that you can lock into the door, and all the exercises that we're gonna do here out on the beach, you can do right at home or even in your backyard. I'm gonna go ahead and jump into our very first exercise. And what I wanna do is I'm gonna anchor this band right about chest height. So loop the band around and through itself, just like that. It's the easiest way to anchor it. And we're going to mimic a preacher curl. Now, when you're in the gym, you see people doing either a bar preacher curl or a dumbbell preacher curl. But the basics of a preacher curl is getting our arms out in front of us. Now, a lot of people do the exercise, we're told to do it, but a lot of people don't know why you're doing it. The reason you want to do a preacher curl, or get your arms, more specifically your elbows in front of you, is it's putting the long head of the biceps in a more relaxed position. So you've got two heads of the biceps, that's why we call it biceps, plural. So you've got the long head on the outside and the short head on the inside. So with this exercise, or any kind of preacher curl type movement, we're targeting the short head. And the reason is we're putting the long head in a relaxed position by putting it out in front of us. So if we want to target the long head, the opposite, we're going to put our arm behind us and create more tension on the long head of the biceps. So we want to do the opposite. We want to put it in a shortened position, or a biomechanically weak position, and therefore it's making the inside shorter head work harder. So we're targeting the inside by doing this. So since we're out on the beach and we don't have a preacher bench, we don't need one, I'm going to show you a couple different ways that we can do some of these exercises. Like I said, we want to make sure that our arms are out in front of us. So all we have to do is actually face our anchor point. I'm going to grab both sides of the band just like this. Now, I've got a couple ways to create more resistance. Either I can grab the band closer to my anchor point, or I can just step further away. Remember that bands have linear variable resistance, meaning that the more we stretch them, the harder they get. So depending on how much tension you have, you may need to adjust your position throughout your set. So if you get to 5 and you think, hey, this is too easy, all you have to do is step back a little bit more and you're going to create more tension. So now, like all my exercises, I like to start off with 20 reps. Now, this is not a warm-up set, although it does serve the purpose of warming up, but this is an actual working set, meaning that you want to work hard and not just, go about this nice and light and easy. So 10 reps should be hard. By the time you get to 15, your arm should be on fire and you're still going to squeeze out 5 more for 20. Step back to get tension at the beginning here. You want tension all the way through the range of motion, keeping our elbow in one fixed position, squeeze forward. Now you notice my elbow doesn't move. I'm not moving my arm up and down. That elbow is in one spot right there. And just bring your hands right towards your face. Now you notice when I'm doing these, I'm supinating my hand, meaning I'm turning that pinky up. Anytime you're doing any of your biceps exercises, whether it's a standing curl or you're doing these or your arm behind your back, you always want to make sure you turn that pinky up and your thumb is going to turn out. That's called supination, and that's going to help you get a peak contraction. So you notice as I do these, I get that slight hand turn. Now make sure, like I always say, take advantage of all 3 kinds of contractions. So a good controlled concentric, make sure you get that peak contraction, so squeeze that isometric for a second, and then a nice controlled eccentric or negative. So take advantage of all 3 types of contractions. So what you're shooting for is a total time under tension for each rep of about 3 to 4 seconds. So 1 second on the concentric, maybe a half a second pause on the isometric, and a nice controlled 2 count on your negative. All right, so for this next exercise, we're gonna do the exact opposite of what we did. We're now gonna target the long head of the bicep. So to target the short head, we put our arms out in front of us. So now we're gonna bring our arm behind us, create more tension on the long head of the biceps. We're gonna anchor it the same way, except we're gonna go a little bit lower. I wanna anchor it right about hip height. Now, normally if you were doing free weights using dumbbells, you would lay on an incline bench. So you would lay back and that would drop your arms back behind you. But we don't have a bench out here, so we can do this standing up. Now, I could grab the band through the loop like this and step forward. You want to step forward far enough where you get tension, or I can go ahead and grab the band at different lengths to create more or less tension. Now, there's one more advantage of doing this. By bringing the band across the pinky side, when I turn my hand up, when I supinate like I was talking about, it's actually creating a little bit more tension on that side of my hand, making it a little more difficult to turn my hand. Therefore, when I squeeze and get that peak contraction, I've got maximum resistance. So that's exactly what we're gonna do. So grab the band, like I said, going across the pinky side of your hand, just like that. We're gonna step forward enough to where our arm is straight back behind us and we have tension back here. Again, you want tension all the way through the range of motion. Bring your right foot back, so the same foot that you're grabbing the band with, same foot, same hand. You want to really brace yourself. You got to have a good strong base, strong core here. That's one of the things about resistance band training. Really helps you develop that core strength, which is functional strength. It's going to look just like this. Keeping the elbow in one position. Curl it forward, turn that pinky up. Now, one thing that you want to make sure that you're doing is you don't move your elbow. So just like we were doing with our arm in front of us, we kept the elbow in one spot. Make sure you're doing the same thing with this movement. So here's the wrong way to do it. As you curl up, that you would bring your arm forward. We don't want our elbow next to our hip here. We want to keep it back here. So it's going to look just like this. And if you have to, go ahead and look back. Make sure that elbow is staying put. So I recommend that you actually use a lighter band for this first set, especially if we're gonna do 20 reps. We're gonna follow the same rep structure that we did before on our other exercise, so 20, 10, 10, 15. So I recommend going down to at least a medium-sized band, getting out 20 good reps, making sure you're getting that peak contraction using really good form. Before going up in resistance, we know how to do that. We got a lot of different ways to create different resistance, and you're gonna do 10 reps for set number 2, 10 reps for set number 3, before going back to our original resistance for our fourth and final set of 15. So that's it for that exercise. Now I'm gonna show you one more. First exercise, we targeted the short head of the biceps. Our second exercise, we targeted the long head of the biceps. Now what we're gonna do is we're gonna target the brachialis, which is a muscle that lies underneath the biceps. So the bigger that is, the more it's gonna push your biceps up. Now, if you've ever done reverse curls, that's exactly what you're targeting, is your brachialis. So that's what we're gonna do here. This is gonna be an unanchored exercise, so we don't have to anchor it on to a door or a pole or a pull-up bar. We're gonna anchor this right under our feet. Now, your brachialis is not as strong as your biceps. So this is why if you're doing any kind of reverse curls, whether you're using free weights, a bar, or dumbbells, you're always gonna have to go lighter. So this might be a little bit too heavy. We'll see, I might have to drop down in resistance to get good form here. Want to anchor this under our feet. Now, like I've talked about, the more you shorten the band, the more resistance you have. So another way that I can create more resistance is the width of my stance. You see, if with a narrow stance, I've got a lot of length here. If I widen my stance, it shortens the band, so I'm creating more tension. So I can make little adjustments on the fly just with my foot position if I need more or less resistance. We are going to have our palm facing down. So we're just gonna grip the band just like that. Stand straight up. Keep your elbows in a fixed position, right by your sides, and curl right up towards your chin. Control it on the way down. Squeeze up, get that good peak contraction, and back down. Now remember, to build muscle, it's not just about how much weight you use, and how many reps, it's also about time under tension. So that's why rep speed is so important, and why a lot of people cheat themselves when they don't get a good squeeze or that isometric and they don't control the eccentric or the negative. So they're just rushing their concentric and letting the band go down or the free weight go down. So that right there isn't even 2 seconds. So you multiply those 2 seconds by 10 reps, that's maybe 20 seconds of time under tension. You need at least 30 seconds of time under tension per set to build muscle. So control your rep speed. I think a lot of people think that good form is about injury prevention, but it's not. It's about building muscle. So 20 reps, 10, 10, and then 15. So that's exercise number 3. I'm going to show you one more to complete this biceps workout. Fourth and final exercise. This one is a good old-fashioned standing biceps curl. Now, there's a couple ways that we can do this. If we want to do this unanchored, meaning we don't want to attach it here, we can just step on it. Or if you do have the option, I'm going to show you a variation here, and it's one that I do like because of the angle of the pull, and I'll show you what I mean by that. So I'm going to anchor this all the way down at the ground here, nice and low. Now by anchoring it, I'm also shortening the length of it. You can see that I've taken up a lot of the length of the band just wrapping it around the pole. So this is going to be a lot harder than it would be if I was standing on the band. To build muscle, you want to make sure that you get peak contractions, meaning you get the most resistance at the very top. Now, when we're training with dumbbells or barbells, we actually have the least amount of resistance at the top, because think about it, with a bar dumbbell, we're resisting gravity. That's where we're getting our tension from. So we've got tension all the way through the range of motion, but once we come over the top here like this, we're actually able to rest it right at the very top. So we don't have maximum tension where we want it in that peak contraction. So with bands, especially when we create an angle of pull like this, we're getting peak contraction with variable resistance, meaning the more we stretch the band, the harder it gets. So we're getting the most resistance at the very peak of that contraction. So here's what it's going to look like. We're going to brace ourselves here. You want to put one foot forward, and you're going to lean back slightly, because as you start to curl, it's going to want to pull you forward. So you really have to stabilize yourself. You have to contract your abs isometrically to stabilize yourself. Keep those elbows in one spot. Turn those hands. Get that good isometric squeeze. Control the negative. Now, this band was good for demonstrating it, but to follow our 20, 10, 10, 15 rep structure, this is too much resistance, so I would have to drop down in resistance in order to get 20 good reps. Never let your ego dictate the amount of resistance you're using, whether it's bands or free weights. Lifting heavy by itself isn't going to build muscle. Making sure you're using good form, good time under tension, good peak contractions, that's what's going to build muscles. Now the variation of this, if I weren't going to anchor it, I would just anchor it under my feet, step nice and wide, and it would look just like this. Now, of course, there's all sorts of different variations. You can do single arms. If I were to step on this, we could do the little trick that I showed you before, and I can bring the band across the pinky side, and that way, as I curl up and get that supination, you can see getting good resistance all the way through the range of motion, which is one of the things that I love about resistance bands. So there's 4 exercises for you to really hammer those biceps. Like I said, this is something you can do anywhere if you have a set of resistance bands. You don't need a pull-up bar. You can do these at home if you use a door anchor. But when the weather's great like this, why not get outside, enjoy the weather? You can still get an awesome workout. You can still get the same kind of intensity and muscle building benefits with resistance bands as you can in the gym with free weights or machines. So that's it for now. Appreciate you guys tuning in. I'm James Grage. This is RBT, Resistance Band Training. Make sure you go ahead and subscribe, turn on notifications, because there'll be more great videos just like this one, and you don't want to miss any. So I'll see you guys next time.